Everyone, EG here. So this video is going to be in two parts. This first segment, I'm going to be talking about how I've been blessedly doing nothing for a while. At least a couple of days. I did basically nothing. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the value of that. And then the last part of the video, stay tuned. I'm doing giving you an apartment tour and showing you what my place looks like here and talking about another very nice interaction with a person from Albania. So anyway, so the first part of this is by the time I checked in here, which was about a little over a week and a half ago, I was just fried. Between the whole getting here to Albania, then the kind of, getting through the whole culture shock initially because it was just such a different culture. And then I was out and about almost every day when I was at my first Airbnb. I was going and scoping things out. I had to go out and find some things. I went out to eat. I went to the mall. I did things. And by the time I moved over to this one, I was tired. And plus the dental thing, going back and forth to the dentist a couple times that I did. So last week, after I moved in on a Friday, by the middle of last week, I just thought, you know what? I just need to do nothing. Because I don't know about you, but when I am stressed and when I'm just kind of overwhelmed by things, I just have to pull back and do nothing. And I've told you about that on this channel before. I know a lot of you feel the same way, that doing nothing, the dolce far niente that the Italians talk about, the beauty of doing nothing, the sweetness of doing nothing. I cannot extol its virtues enough. It is wonderful to do nothing. Now, I don't mean just staying in bed all day. That's not what I mean by doing nothing, although that's certainly an option. So for the couple of days I did this, I just stayed home, and I call it home. Anytime I'm planted somewhere for a while, it becomes my temporary home. So I just stayed home, and I watched stuff on YouTube. I did some writing, I did some reading, I played some music, practiced some guitar, I meditated, I did a few exercises. I even did go out briefly, like to take the garbage out or something like that. But I basically didn't do anything else. I didn't even make a video for the channel during that time. So that the day just goes by and it's peaceful and it's calm. I didn't talk to anybody on the phone. I basically didn't, I didn't even make any concrete plans. I did some planning, but I didn't make any concrete plans. I didn't, schedule anything. I just rested and relaxed. And I didn't take a nap. I didn't stay in bed all day. But I just, to me, it's an art form when you can do that right. And sometimes I have to do that for a few days at a time. And then I'm fine for a few weeks, and then I got to do it again. I don't do it all the time. And I don't do it out of depression. I basically do it out of just my nervous system just gets, overwhelmed. And so I have to kind of retreat, cocoon myself, just kind of take care of, and I basically only eat, if I'm hungry. So I don't even sit and eat a lot on days I do that. If I'm hungry, then I have something to eat. And I had stuff here on hand in the fridge and stuff to snack on and stuff, but I just didn't even eat a lot for a couple of days because drank a lot of water, but I didn't eat a lot because I just didn't need to. And so I wanted to share with you that that's one of the things I'm doing on this trip, especially while I'm in Tirana in Albania, is that I've got plenty of time this summer to do that. And with the heat outside and not wanting to be outside in the heat, honestly, because it just drains me. Today, the day I'm shooting this, I actually was out for about 3 hours in this heat. And I even left like 9:30 this morning, and it still was, by the time I got back about 12:30, it was just too much. And yeah, it's because I walked a couple of miles in this, you know, mile down to the area, got something to eat. I actually tried to go by the music store, but it was because I needed to still get a soft case for this guitar to transport it to my next Airbnb, and but it was not open today, which is strange because it says it's open. When I went online and looked at the, you know, website, it said it was open, but it was not open. And that happens anywhere you go. You know, maybe the guy was sick today, maybe he had an errand to run, who knows. But anyway, the thing is, you know, I'm back in the productive mode this week, and I've got to move in a few days to my next Airbnb, and I'm getting everything kind of aligned for that. I messaged my new host and asked if I could check in early. I asked this host if I could check in out a little bit later so there's not a big overlap. You know, the problem when you're moving Airbnbs, or actually hotels even, it's the same principle, is they want you to check out, you know, by 11 or something, and then you can't check into the next place till 3. Well, that'd be great if I didn't have a bunch of luggage. I mean, where am I supposed to just sit on the street on my luggage? So for 3 hours or 4 hours. So I messaged my host, and I can check in early, like between 11:30, and then I'll check out here between 10:30 and 11, and it'll be fine. So I had to organize that today, which I did. So, but anyway, back to the doing nothing. So once I check into my next Airbnb, and especially once I have to go back for some dental stuff, and definitely if I get this tooth pulled, I'm going to be doing nothing again for, you know, a few days at a time. So I will actually probably, the next time I talk about this, I will actually document it while I'm doing it, and you know, just kind of show you what I do on a typical day of doing nothing. That's what I'll do for the next time I discuss this. So anyway, so stay tuned for the second part of this video. I'm going to show you my apartment, and then tell you a little nice story about a lovely Albanian woman that I met in the elevator today. So EG here. So I thought I'd show you my apartment. By the time you see this, well, I'll still be here, but I'll only be here a couple more days. So anyway, let me flip the camera around and show you a little more of where I'm staying. So this is the front door. And as you come in, there's a nice little unit right here that is like a closet, storage bench. Lots of storage in here, actually. And then as you come in the door, it's like I walked in the door, you look right at the kitchen area. I guess they must have kids stay here because they have, I noticed some stuffed animals. But anyway, this is the kitchen setup. I got a bag there for garbage, but there's a microwave, a sink, 4-burner induction stove, which is the first time I've seen that in a place, and an oven, and a little fridge. It's actually a very usable kitchen. They don't have it quite fully stocked with everything for cooking, I've noticed, but you know, I'm actually going to make some potatoes tomorrow. I got some potatoes at the store, and I'm going to boil some potatoes because I have butter and salt on hand, and I thought I'm really craving some home-cooked potatoes. So anyway, you scan over this way, and there's like a dining table. Got my laptop on there. And you scan over further, and that's the living area. Got my guitar on there. And who's that by the window? Oh, she's always loving looking out. Anyway, this is the living area. Out on the balcony, there's a drying rack for clothes. And boy, with the heat we're having right now, those clothes dry in like 5.2 minutes, I think. But then you come over here, and there's a TV, which I never watch TV any time I'm at these places. I just use my laptop. So But there's that, and there's some books up here. I got to show you this one book. It just cracked me up. Well, most of the books, this magazine, this Time magazine is actually in English, but a lot of these things are in Albanian, so I can't read them. But they have a biography of Eleanor Roosevelt in Albanian. And it's a thick book. I don't know that I ever read this particular, I don't even recognize the author, but I've never read this particular book. But anyway, they obviously somebody was an Eleanor Roosevelt fan. So that's there. There's lots of plants around. We got a plant here, plant there. We got a plant down here, and then here's the view out the window. It's in the afternoon as I'm filming this, but there's another plant, and it's a real one out on the patio. So it's kind of a nice touch, although I don't know if I'm supposed to like water them. They didn't leave any instructions. I'm here for 2 weeks, so I don't know if I'm supposed to water them or not. But anyway, this is a map on the wall, which is crooked on the wall, which if you're like me, bugs the you-know-what out of me, but I don't really want to move anything. And then there's a couple of, this is my charging station I created for my devices, and there's my suitcase and some other stuff. And then let me show you the bathroom first, and then we'll come back to the bedroom. So you notice everything is like white, very white. I'm not going to use the overhead light because the fan comes on and it's really noisy. But we have a washer here, not a washer dryer, just a washer. But it works fine. I got my stuff on top of there. There's a laundry basket. Bidet, I think that's the first Airbnb I've had that has a bidet. Toilet. This is the part I don't like. This is the shower, guys. So I love it. A rainfall shower, it's fine. There's no curtain, there's no glass, there's no anything. So I have to put these towels down on the floor so that the floor doesn't get soaking wet when I'm taking a shower. And it kind of, you know, soaks up any water that comes out of that little, I've never seen that where it's just open, which I don't mind, except that the water gets on the floor. And then here's the sink, which is fine. I love these mirrors. This is a big thing in Albania, I've noticed, is they all have these, a lot of the places have these LED mirrors, which I really like, actually. Like, I would love to have an LED mirror where I lived permanently. So, yeah, that's that. So let me walk with you to the bedroom. And this is the largest Airbnb I've been in so far. It's a true one bedroom. Here's the bedroom. It's not big, but I think it might be a king size bed. It's definitely a queen size, at least. It might be a king size. They have storage over there, and I do have my clothes in one of those, just kind of stacked. And then there's a little nightstand, these little lights, these little LED lights. And then I got some stuff on the dresser here. And then there's actually, oh, there's another plant in here. And there's actually a window. I've got the metal blinds down, but a window that looks at a wall. So I just keep that down, and then I keep this one half open for light, but don't really see out this one. So yeah, and they've got the manual metal blinds. You actually use this cord, this thing to raise and lower them, which I actually like, because I always think that the ones that are motorized, like what happens if like the power goes out and you can't like raise or lower them. So I kind of like having the manual one. Anyway, the interesting thing is there's very little on the walls here. So in the bedroom, I'm going to show you this in a second. It's kind of creepy. But there's mostly just white walls. But if you look over here across from the bed, they got this just random little scenic picture. And then these two like They look like, you know, masks, you'd see it like in Venice or something, in Italy or something like that. But I always find masks on a wall kind of creepy. So it's, I basically don't look there. And then in the living room, there is a painting on the wall above the sofa. And there's a clock, which is loud and ticks very loudly. And then, of course, there's the crooked map. But I love maps. So even though it's crooked, I'm into it. So let me bring you back around. So what do I think of it here? Well, let me sit down over here in a chair. I've actually, the place itself, I've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed this Airbnb quite a bit. The bed's okay. It's not as comfortable as the last place I stayed, but it's okay. Mini split that does the air conditioning works really well. The view, you know, I can look out the window, which is nice, unlike the cave I was in the last time. Except for that water going out for a few hours that one morning, knock on wood, it's been fine. The building has an elevator. It's a modern building. This isn't an old building that was renovated. It's actually a modern building. And I really do like that. What I don't like is where this is located. Where the building is located is what I don't like. You know, I would have stayed in a place like this permanently if I could have been closer to, you know, restaurants and things like that. I actually have to walk at least 3/4 of a mile to get to an area where there's restaurants. This is very much a residential neighborhood. There is a couple of food markets on the street, which is good. There's a big market, which is kind of their modern supermarket kind of idea. It's small. I mean, it's not a giant supermarket, but you can't go to a restaurant. They have bars and lounges nearby, but most bars and lounges don't carry food, which is interesting. It's not like in the US when you go to a bar and they have food. So yeah, that I don't like. Of course, the next place I'm going to also is in a residential area. It's a different residential area. And I'm thinking I'm going to have the same problem there. So I don't know. I did not choose wisely. Because for me, especially because going out to eat is relatively inexpensive here, I really prefer to do that at least every other day and go out and have, like, you know, a nice lunch or something. But this isn't a good place for that. Today I was out, and I literally, to go and eat somewhere and come back it's a 2-mile walk in the heat. And I can't do that every day. So yeah. Anyway, that's my place. And the next place I'm at, I'm sure I will be showing you that at some point in that, when I'm there as well. But I leave here in a few days and transfer again. I hope I like the next place. I know it's not quite it's remodeled and stuff. It looks fine inside, but it's not as modern as this one is. And but it is in a building with an elevator. It's on, I think, the 8th floor. But it's very much a residential area. So again, not going to have a lot of conveniences nearby. And anyway, let me close this with a wonderful thing, though, that happened this afternoon when I was coming back from being out for a few hours. And that is that I got on the elevator. I was waiting for the elevator downstairs, and this young woman came and waited. She was waiting to go on the elevator too. And she said, I think, hello to me in Albanian, and I just smiled and nodded. And I just didn't, you know, say anything, of course, because I don't know how to say it in Albanian. So we get on the elevator, and she asked me which floor, and I just kind of pushed the button. But she said something to me, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't speak Albanian. She said, oh, you speak English. She said, I thought you were Albanian. And I said, well, that's very nice of you, actually. And I've had that a lot here, whereas if I don't open my mouth, people just think I'm Albanian, which means I'm blending in. And but she said, oh, and she didn't even ask where I was from, so I didn't offer it. But she asked me, she said, oh, do you like being here in Albania? And I said, actually, I do. I said, I really like the people here. I said, everyone is really nice. And she smiled at that. And then she said, oh, you need to see more than Tirana. And I said, well, I definitely do. And I said, the one thing I don't like here is the heat. And she said, oh, it's bad this summer already. And I said, yes, it is. And it was just very nice. It was a nice interaction. She smiled at me. She said goodbye in English. I said goodbye. And because she got off a floor, I think she was a couple floors before my floor. Anyway, I had another nice interaction with a lovely Albanian. And I really appreciate that. You know, it happens like, I mean, every day I go out, I probably have at least some kind of good interaction with someone here. So it's very nice. Anyway, until next time, be kind always and keep moving forward. Take care. Bye.